All right, here we go. This is part 3 of the Unit 3B Algebra 2 IM video. Here we go. Simplify each expression. If you multiply an imaginary number by a constant, you just get the constants multiplied together times the I. I don't know how to even make that hurt. That's painless. We talked about before how I was, what's I equal to?
-1.
I is the square root of -1. And I is always I, right? I to the first power is just I, right? And we talked about I squared was, you told me that was is earlier. What's I squared? -1. And you found that I cubed was -I. And I to the fourth, you remember what I to the fourth was?
-1.
It's just 1, positive 1. You got to know these. That means 16I cubed is like 16 times -I, because I cubed is -I. And that means that's just -16I. And then we got 2I to the fourth power.
I love this too much.
What does it mean? What does it mean to multiply or to raise something to the fourth power? Multiply by itself 4 times. This is 2I times 2I times 2I times 2I.
I like this.
This is 2 multiplied by itself 4 times. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 is what? 16. Close. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16, right?
What about the I?
And then we got I to the fourth power. I times I times I is I to the fourth power, right?
So it's just 16.
It's just 16. Because I is 1, right? And then we got 2I times 8I. And 2I times 8I is 2 times 8, that's 16. And I times I, that's I squared. Well, what's I squared?
-I.
-1. So this becomes 16 times -1. That's just -16. That's painless stuff, y'all.
That's it? That's all you put on there?
That's all you put on those for. Painless stuff.
Hold on.
Y'all can do that. I'm going to start calling this peace music. I started playing it yesterday in 6th period. And
Is
all
that
of a
a
sudden,
T?
the behavior changed.
Is that a T?
No, sorry.
It's negative.
It's just -1. All right, I'm going to flip the page now. We're going to do page 2.
Wait, is I to the fifth power just I?
I to the fifth power. You remember how you do that? You divide the 5 by... Let me go back on this a minute. Where you go?
Oh, 5 divided.
Mr. Ashley just said open the door. Can I go open the door?
Yes. Look here. If you divide the power by 4, okay? Divide the power by 4. If you divide 1 by 4, you get 0.25, right?
Yeah.
If you divide 2 by 4, you get 0.5. If you divide 3 by 4, you get 0.75. You're welcome. If you divide 4 by 4, you get 1.0, right? So if you take I raised to the 275th power, you divide 275 by 4, and that's going to give you, let's say 635, it's going to be 9, 8.
Wait, what are you showing us right now? Just the I?
0.75. I'm showing you how to do the powers of I.
Okay.
So, she asked about I to the fifth power.
So 0.75 would be
It matches this, right?
-I.
So that matches the -I, so it becomes just,
Oh,
whoops.
right.
Okay.
That was I to the 275th power, not I equal to. I to the 275th equals -I. That's what it is.
Okay.
Right? Okay. Good question. Whoops, wrong page. Now here we got, find all the solutions to the equation. Now y'all, stretch your fingers out a minute. You got a squared equals 1. Take the square root of both sides. Square root of a squared is a, and this becomes plus or minus the square root of 1. And what's the square root of 1?
1.
A equals plus or minus 1. All solutions. B squared equals 13. Take the square root of both sides. Square root of b squared is b. Square root of 13 is plus or minus square root of 13. And you can't simplify that. All right, it's just square root of 13. And then c squared equals negative 9. Take the square root of both sides. C squared, take the square root of c. Take the square root of the right side, you get plus or minus square root of negative 9. We never leave negatives in the square root. What do we write instead?
I.
Plus or minus I square root of 9. And we all know what square root of 9 is.
3.
It's 3, so this is plus or minus 3 times I. Right? Doing this one, take the square root of both sides, you get d equals plus or minus square root of negative 5. We never leave the negative in the square root. What's that equal to? I square roots of 5. That's all you do for those. We are less than 6 minutes, so we're going to go ahead and do this number 10, okay? We're going to do it. We've already done something like this. We just had different numbers. Look, we're going to distribute that negative, just like we did before. So we're going to take the first one, negative 8 plus 3i. Then we're going to do negative 2 and negative 5i. Then we're going to combine the real parts.
We're doing negative 5i.
So 8 and
Distributed a negative to the positive 5i. Negative 8 minus 2.
What'd you say?
Negative 8 minus 2. You borrowed $8 from your brother, then you borrowed 2 more. You got negative $10, right? You got 3i minus 5i.
What?
2.
Negative 2. Negative 2i. Right? Just 3 minus 5 is negative 2, and you keep the I. Right? On this one, we're just going to distribute. 7i times 4 is 28i. 7i times negative I is negative 7i squared, but we know what I squared is. It's negative 1, so that's like 28i minus 7 times negative 1. What's my 7 times negative 1?
Negative 7.
Negative 7 times negative 1 makes positive 7, right?
Like positive 7.
So 28i plus 7, and they want us to write this in a plus bi form. So we want the real part first, 7 plus 28i. Painless, y'all.
Oh
Painless.
my goodness. You can do, there's an I on the calculator.
There is, but you gotta be kind of careful because of the way the calculator operates with the I, sometimes it will give you some weird numbers. Okay?
But like, I to the 4th is 1.
Okay, but sometimes it'll give you some weird numbers though. I'm just saying.
That it will
All right? It might work for you sometimes, but it may not all the time. All right, here, 3i cubed is 3i times 3i times 3i. And that's like 3 times 3 times 3, which is 27. And I times I times I is I cubed. What's I cubed? We just did it a minute ago.
Negative I.
So that means it's 27 times negative I, which is just negative 27i. Painless, y'all. Painless. So I'm going to stop this now because we're 8 minutes and 33 seconds in and people are getting bored, right? So if anybody watching it, they'll be like, I'm done with this. I'm doing TikTok now for the rest of my life, right? Even though TikTok's still got my phone, right? All right, I'm going to stop it. It'll come back.